if you brought Shakespeare into this century looking at this technology, you'd be absolutely blown away by what we can do nowadays.
My favourite films would be films like The Godfather and Raging Bull. You don't feel the technology, you feel the story, but they're told by great technological minds.
The new technology that's coming on board all the time has
Computers.
meant that a lot of young filmmakers can
Computers.
take advantage of it and
Computers.
make programs in a way that they never dreamt.
It's changing everything, and things will change and have to change. Whatever else is there, the film will stand and fall on how well it's edited. The editing process is the time where you make the film work or you fail to make the film work. You can make it much quicker. You can cut a scene in half. You can cut a scene completely. Reorder the story. You can intercut between different scenes. You can make a dull scene exciting. You can make a badly paced film well-paced.
389, take one.
During the shoot, they'll have filmed well over 500 separate shots to cover 98 scenes, I think it is. And all those shots have to be assembled in the right order in order to tell the story in the most interesting and entertaining way possible.
Cesario, by the roses of the spring, by maidhood, honour, truth and everything, I love thee so.
So you have to be able to judge pace and rhythm over 102 minutes as well as over 30 seconds. So it ends up like a huge jigsaw puzzle of different shots for different scenes. The machine I use is a Lightworks. It's a computer-based editing tool and basically works like a word processor. You can write a sentence and you can lift one word and move it to the beginning of the sentence, or you can take it out completely, or you can add something in the middle, but it's with words and pictures. You can do things like dissolves, fade to black or fade up from white. You do certain special effects like enlarging the picture or reducing it or cropping it, or superimpose one shot on top of the other.
When directing a scene, you have the choice of several accepted major named shots that identify choices that you might make. You have what's called an establishing shot. You have 3 shots, you have 2 shots, you have mid shots, you have a close-up, and then you have an extreme close-up. You have point of view shots, and you have shots with movement. The editor literally tells the story.
Okay, this is the video. This is the 3 audio tracks here. This sort of yellowy-brown shot is the shot of Andrew, and that's his sound. Then we move on. Now we're on the shot of Viola, and she's represented by the yellow shot here, but we're still hearing the sound from the previous shot of Andrew. This is one of the shots that they filmed of Parminder playing Viola fighting. There's actually no sound on this. I've had to add the sound later. So obviously I don't use all of this shot. I just take sections of it where I need them. Very close, wobbly camera, which all keeps it very exciting. And then if I show you the other shot of Andrew, and you put them together, you get something like this. If you analyse the sequence, some of these shots are so quick. For example, Andrew's slashing with his knife. He's only 6 frames long, which is about a quarter of a second. That's all it needs, just to tell us what he's doing at that moment. You're trying to just make lots of value judgments all day about whether something works or whether something doesn't. And the fact that I use a computer to do that is of secondary importance to the job itself.
It's immensely exciting, and you really do choose in the editing, really, how you're going to tell the story.
Brother, he's in Elysium.
The sound in the film is a, like everything else, is a kind of form of poetic realism.
The clock upbraids me with the waste of time.
We wanted to feel we were in a place, in a garden, in a street, in a cellar, and the sound designers needed to create a sound texture that fulfilled that image. But in a way that was crafted and shaped, so sometimes would become silent when it might not in real life. Would shift from as it might be at 2 o'clock in the morning to as it might be at 5 o'clock in the morning within 15 minutes. And you have to have the flexibility with Shakespeare, and sound is one of the most difficult areas. You mustn't pin him down in too literal a space.
This is called a Fairlight MFX3 Plus. It's a digital editing machine, which is what we all use here at Hackenbacker. I think we've got 13 of them here.
Shipwreck was a tough one because really this is one of the few examples where we wanted sound to tell a story that we weren't showing.
We've got about 100,000 sound effects on a hard disk-based system downstairs.
We were always very conscious of the fact that we weren't going to be able to film a shipwreck take place. Obviously, that would have been a huge amount of money and not something that practically or economically we'd be able to pull off.
What I've got here, since we've upgraded, is it's all online, so I can literally search for a dog. And there you go, within about 3 seconds I've got all these dog barks here. If I don't like that, I can then go to another one.
We didn't film the shipwreck. We wanted to give the idea of contemporary catastrophe.
It's my job to A, build a sequence with sounds, and B, give the director options so that if there's anything he doesn't like, it can be taken out.
So the sound is a combination of the sound of the sea and the elements and the storm and the breaking up of this modern ship. And
crashing waves, had the sort of that horrible groaning you get with a ship.
And then a sense of explosion and catastrophe.
Wind again, whiskey high. Some waves from the outside. When you play that all together, it will sound like one harmonious sea crashing sound effect. What's surprising to a lot of people is the amount of work that goes into a production sound-wise. Our job is kind of to make sure that no one is aware of what happens and therefore nothing stands out.
If music be the food of love, play on.
I think music in this film provides an inner temperament, the fusion of traditional Indian and Western and African musics. It's a culture that the characters in Twelfth Night share. Music is very important to the emotion of contemporary existence.
Everybody has the same experience. If they hear a piece of music or a certain song, it's an overwhelmingly powerful effect.
Beautiful, emotional, entirely contemporary and funky.
And it's an amazing thing about music that there is a kind of a mathematical science to the emotional side of music, in that if you play certain intervals, it's guaranteed to give you a certain feeling. The mixing console is the centerpiece of the studio. You can have 24 or 48 sets of controls. Each set of controls is identically the first thing you do whenever you record anything at all actually, is to stand in the room in front of the instrument and listen.
Like everything in the story, it shifts. The music shifts from the lyrical, strange, to the ugly and the rough, the dynamic and the more ominous.
If you're a live musician, you've simply got the microphone and you need to be watching the picture and playing along to it and getting the feel of how the pictures are changing and the emotions building.
There is interior, emotional energy running through the piece.
Music has a more direct connection, it's a more overwhelming, powerful effect on people than just seeing an image on its own.
What the music in the film does is link the collision of cultures. The music interlaces itself with what characters do and say to provide, as I've said, the emotional inner score.
Recording music is just fantastic fun.
For us, blue screening was firstly a practical way of expanding the vision of the film. We had to use blue screen as a kind of poetry so that there would be a heightened kind of feeling to the skies that you saw.
Putting in of a bird in a sky takes seconds.
Half the set is a blue screen upon which we're going to place amazing backgrounds of sea and clouds and sun.
And then trying to do so with a twist of a heightened kind of beauty or intensity that would not pretend that you really were in that place.
One of the most remarkable things about technology is how immediate it is. You can sit with your effects editor and say, can you move that sky a bit? Can you make it a bit more pink? Can you bring in a few more clouds?
I spent a lot of time working with the blue screen artist, Andy Wood, where he had a computer that allowed him to take the film image and put it onto the blue screen and then work at it until it fitted, literally, bit by bit.
The foregrounds are all studio shot, so the actors are shot in front of a blue screen. My job was to create the blue screen composites and then to put them together with the foregrounds to create something kind of special.
We use a special type of fluorescent light, which is a blue tube, puts out a very narrow spectrum of blue and makes the blue screen very intense, so that the post-production house has an easy job of keying out that colour without affecting any other colour.
I have to use the blue element of the picture as a key really being a hole cutter by any other name really. Just cuts a hole that you can fill with whatever image you require. And what we've got here is this image of the sun. I've put on this effect here, which is optical glow with quite a lot of diffusion in it to make the image sort of look soft and hazy sort of looking. And the other part of this image is clouds, which are just these clouds here. What I've done is layer them and put together. They look like that really. Here we have the foreground layer, and this is the image that is going to be composited together with the foreground layer to be the background. So this whole image here is going to replace the blue element of the picture.
And when mine eye did see Olivia first, methought she purged the air of pestilence.
You have such a range of possibilities in Effects Suite to create exactly what you want. That part of technology is incredibly exciting for a filmmaker.
It's a fairly recent thing that products have come on the market that has enabled television program makers to embark on sort of quite lengthy blue screen work. It gives you a real level of freedom as to what you want to try. It's really easy to try things out, not always successfully, but you sort of learn a lot by just trying various things out.
It took a lot of work in post-production, finding the right image, dropping it in, working at it till you had the right perspective, right light, right tone, and then working at the grading of the image so that it all works together. Gavin was always clear that we should push the work that he did in the grade.
I used to be a photographer, and I used to love being in a darkroom, tinkering with chemicals and playing with the imagery. And for me, a tele-cine suite is like a darkroom, a fantastically powerful tool.
One aspect of the post-production process, which has been highly influenced by technology and the constant change technology, is the grading process. If you're not happy with the look of a certain scene, the warmth or the lack of warmth in the lighting, you can make those changes very easily.
There are a few scenes, for instance, the handheld DV cam footage in the market where Tim, the director, did want a gritty, hyper-real, pushed look. By pushed, I mean pushing the colour, pushing the highlight, brightness of the look, and we meant to pull the colour in and desaturate it because we don't want the colour to buzz, but to push it in the yellow, push the highlights, push the contrast.
On to the next.
Yeah.
You can have a profound effect on the look of a piece. However you've shot it on the day, you can change how light or dark it is, how contrasty it is. You can change the overall colour of a scene. If you've lit it quite warm, you can make it quite cold, and vice versa. You can literally turn a scene that you had lit for night and make it look like daytime. You can change the colour of a person's shirt from blue to red to green without changing anything else. There may be a bright wall in a set that's too bright for your liking, but you don't have time on the set to flag the light off it and make it darker. You can have a mental note that you can put a more bright wall and make that area darker without affecting the rest of the scene.
There is a danger that you just start to play around with every scene and make changes here and there, and you are sometimes in danger of kind of losing the essence of the film you shot in the first place.
It's similar if you've ever used a program like Photoshop on a computer. It's a very similar tool where you can take a still image and do almost anything to it. You can do the same with moving imagery in a tele-cine suite. There are so many subtle variations with what you can do to an image. You really need one person to say, no, this is the look we decided on, this is the look I want.
Like everything, making a film is partly about making choices and seeing them through. Simply, computers helped us increase the light intensity, and computers helped us colour or grade our film.
The screen is now capable of a much greater flexibility and multitude of different ways of tackling a subject than it used to be, and I think Shakespeare would be very intrigued by that.
I think Shakespeare would be quite happy with this adaptation of his play.
I'm sure that he would have been fascinated by the possibilities of moving pictures.
If he was around now and he wasn't writing in the language of the day, he would be writing, I think, some serious, exciting films.
He would have enjoyed seeing it brought up to date.
I think if he was alive today, he would have been producer, director, actor as well.
Seeing the fact that all these characters are still completely realistic, people that we see every single day.
It'd be fantastic to have him around, wouldn't it?
If anything, he may find it a little bit literal. He may find some things too defined. But I think generally he would have liked film. I don't know what he would have made of my designs, but who knows.
The truth is that this film would not have been made if Shakespeare was around, because he'd have made it himself.
I think Shakespeare probably would love the filmmaking process, but he probably would have gone far beyond it by now and created something that we're yet to create. He was ahead of his time then, so I suspect he'd be off doing something mad and incredibly creative that we'll probably discover in 10 years' time.